Round Robin Comic Book Podcast. Mein Gott! The sword is drawn.
Well, it was drawn last week.
Last week.
No.
But I didn't get to do my cool intro. So.
Okay. Really?
I liked it.
Glad somebody did. All right.
You're so mean and hurtful.
I'm sorry. So what are we doing this week?
Excalibur issue 2, 3, 4, and 5.
And
Spider-Man Life Story number 1, the 60s.
should we do Spider-Man first?
Sure.
We do the new issues first because it doesn't take as long?
Yeah,
Sure.
Because
easy.
they take like 3 minutes to read.
They
Yep.
do. Yeah.
Except for this one was a little bit longer.
It's too wordy.
In-
This
okay.
one did take a little while to do because they actually did have a lot of writing in it.
So the concept of this story is that it's the life of Peter Parker growing up in real time. So he'd be
60. No.
in his 50s right now.
Would he? When was he? Because he was a teenager.
1963.
He was
He'd be in his 50s, yeah.
So we're not
56?
counting he was a teenager in 1963?
Well, in this one, in issue 1, he's 5 years after being bitten. So he's in his 20s.
Okay. So yeah,
So he's out of high school.
he'd be in his 50s.
Yeah.
50s, 60s, something like that.
All right, I bought the special variant edition, and it's already busted, so not like it really matters. Writer would be Chip Zdarsky, and penciler's Mark Bagley. And, I like Mark Bagley, and he does that really nice classic 1960s Peter Parker look.
Yeah, he did.
But it just reminds me of Ultimate Spider-Man.
It did have an Ultimate Spider-Man feel to it.
And I think I'm the only person that did not like Ultimate Spider-Man.
I didn't care for it too much.
Just like, I don't need
What
another
if I told
rehash.
you I have not read Ultimate Spider-Man?
Did you ever watch the cartoons of Spider-Man where they were just in a different universe and it's not exactly the same?
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
Let's put Venom in issue 8. It's relaunched. Yeah, it was just stupid.
Okay. I liked X-Men.
They had a couple
or
of highlights, but
Spider-Man
overall-
2099. But
Yeah.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
All about the 2099s.
We'll have to do those.
Ravage.
Ghost Rider,
That was fun. Hulk. Fantastic Four.
Spider-Man.
X-Men,
X-Men. X-Nation.
Punisher.
Punisher. Doom.
Yep.
We'll have to pick some. And are they easy to come by?
Yeah, they're
Quarter
pretty cheap.
bins.
Yeah.
Quarter bins.
Just pick a random issue. Like,
If we plan it far enough out, and
Like-
so I can read a couple of the issues, I can hand them off and let you read them.
Like if I went to like half price books, I could probably find them in there for 50 cents.
maybe.
I have the whole series, and I think the most I paid for any one book was $3,
Okay.
and I probably spent $3 on the rest of those.
I think the Spider-Man ones are the worst or the hardest ones to find.
Certain ones, yeah.
Does-
Especially because they did a Venom 2099 cover that is hard to find, but if you're just looking for story.
But yeah, looking at that book, it does have an ultimate like style to it.
Once you said that, I
Now that
I
I'm
can
looking
really
at
feel
it,
it.
because I
Yeah.
really love Ultimate Fantastic Four, and it looks just like it.
Yeah.
It's just weird to see, like, Gwen Stacy pre-Norman Osborn come dumpster.
Yep.
I mean, I'm trying not to cuss in this, but they effed her up. Like, her character is so screwed up right now. She's a clone, but nope, she's from an alternate universe. Nope, no.
It's really her. She didn't die.
So it's pretty much just basically Spider-Man in the 1960s, like working for J. Jonah Jameson. Korean, like the Vietnam War is going on. Should I join up? Should I not? Am I friends with Flash Thompson? Am I not friends with Flash Thompson? Like, I don't know. Is he cool, Peter Parker? Is he not? Had this feel of, this is totally retconned.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it felt.
At least in like the Saga of the Submariner, it was actually based on like the old Submariner book. Like they brought up the history of it, and it wasn't.
Like we were talking pre-show, I don't remember the Vietnam War really having anything to do in the early Spider-Man comic books. So, yeah, it definitely was retconned in there.
And I don't remember when Norman Osborn figured out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, because I don't think he went behind a bar and put on his costume and waited for him.
No, that's
Or
that
found-
doesn't sound right at all.
Or
no.
found time enough to put a pumpkin bomb in the bar when nobody was looking. And was like, look, Peter, look what's up there. Look, is that a pumpkin?
Came in before the bar opened.
Right? Oh, I own the bar. That's right. I bought this bar like Tony Stark would do. The Green Goblin looks amazing.
He does.
Like that is a great.
He
Green
would
Goblin.
probably be another one of my favorites too.
And okay, another gripe with the Ultimate Spider-Man. God, horrible Green Goblin. Horrible. He's not in a suit. That's just Norman. Like he's I don't know. I like this Norman Osborn. And then they go through that whole Norman gets amnesia constantly. Then there's an advertisement for this.
Blank
It's-
page, Hickman.
It just says Hickman. It's like, okay, we know you're a writer, dude. We know you write everything for Marvel. And anything Marvel has a problem with, they give it to you.
But that's the thing. We understand that that's a writer. If some kid just picked this up for the first time to read something,
Is this a new character?
It's a superhero from Nebraska. Hickman.
Western Nebraska.
He's from Alliance. He hangs out around Carhenge. And that's where his
choose on straw.
right. He's got overalls on. I think we just made a new character.
There you go.
Hickman.
Hickman.
What's his power?
He's a trumper. His power is white supremacy.
his catchphrase? Have you seen Kyle?
Cornhole. Holy cornholes.
Holy cornhole.
That's yes.
We're endearing ourselves to our main listener base here.
It's better than being in somebody else's base. All right.
True.
Yeah.
This is not a political show, though, so let's move on.
All right, fine. I just thought it was funny.
It was funny.
Um,
Very funny.
then you see old Aunt May, who's
It's not Aunt Tomei.
not Aunt Tomei, and Captain America shows up, and then they have a discussion about sacrifice and going to Vietnam, and
It felt like it went on an awful long time. It should have been
Yes.
one that wrapped up like 3 times. It just felt like, oh, and by the way,
I thought it was almost done.
Yeah.
Just like you said 3 times. I'm like, oh, we're done.
it's like watching Lord of the Rings.
oh yeah.
Oh my
Like, is
God,
this the
there's
end?
another
Is this
couple
the end?
pages.
Is this the end?
Is
Well,
this
when I
it?
got to the Hickman part, I'm like, okay, they're going to do
There you
like
go.
a prelude into the next book. Great, and it kept going.
Yep. Like Gwen finds out that Peter's Spider-Man, and then
And then
Peter
you
Park or
find out
that Captain America is fighting for the Viet Cong.
which
Jesus Christ.
the United States military should have been doing in the first place.
We're not political. Remember?
I know. I'm just going quickly. All
It-
because of that documentary.
So we're going to do this. We're going to do next week Marvel Team Up #1 starring Spider-Man and Ms. Marvel. So we should look forward to that. Because I don't know, I never really got into Kamala.
I have not read one issue of Ms. Marvel.
Fun little character, but not one of my favorites by far.
Oh, I do think I have like one where she shows up in like Sam Alexander's Nova.
Yeah, I believe she
think
did
it's-
show up in
there's-
one of
there's
those
like an
episodes-
issue
one of
where
those issues.
she showed up in Nova.
Yeah?
Yeah.
She became like the new hot young superhero thing going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you guys think about this issue?
I wish they wouldn't have retconned the whole Vietnam era thing, because comic books back then were a form of, they are now too, a form of escapism. And
But if they're going to do this real time, they need to acknowledge that time frame.
Yeah.
A little bit. I didn't mind it so much. It did show that he was trying to choose which way to go with it. Should he enlist? Does
Or should he go
believe
to
in it? Or
Canada?
should yeah.
or does he
What
stay?
does he do?
Or does he stay and just,
Which were real struggles for those individuals that,
unless you had money,
and he lucked out he didn't get drafted.
unless you had money.
Right, I think he said that the only reason he didn't get drafted was because he was in college.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. At that time, they weren't drafting college kids. In this particular time frame of the book, that didn't come till 67, 68, 69.
I thought it was a good read. Like I said, it did feel like it kept going on and on and on. They could have wrapped it up a little bit sooner, but overall, I do think it was pretty well done.
I did like it, being a Spider-Man fan, so I might pick up issue 2. I might read it. See what happens next.
It'd be interesting to see how this moves forward.
I kind of want to see how it goes from here.
Because the next one actually takes place in the 70s, so jumping ahead a decade.
Looks like you meet Dazzler a little bit. He's
Ooh,
got the
Dazzler!
disco ball. So
You can't have the 70s without Dazzler.
Nope,
right.
You cannot.
So maybe Dazzler and Green Goblin get it on. It looks like it. I don't know.
Could be.
So
That's what it looks like.
he has banged everybody in the Marvel Universe. We're going to retcon that Norman Osborn has banged everybody in the Marvel Universe.
There isn't a woman in the comic universe, Marvel universe, that he has not gotten a hold of.
It's probably true.
I don't know. He's got some comp with Tony Stark.
We'll save that for-
Gamora,
Huh?
She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Black Widow.
I do like when him and Gamora got it on and she was bored and left. Like, all right, see ya. He's like, oh, I'm all worn out. She's like, oh, I'm going out.
You bore me.
We continue on with Excalibur.
Let's continue on with Excalibur.
Excalibur.
All right, so issue 2 is more fighting the werewolves.
Yes. I have a question.
Okay.
The Kitty Pryde werewolf thing confused me.
How she's inside of it.
Yeah. Because
Because she can phase. Her powers are to phase.
yeah, but she can't phase with these creatures.
Right. So
That's where I got so lost. I'm like, wait, what just happened? I missed a panel. I had to look at that over and over and over again.
So how I got it was that there was some kind of weird malfunction with their ability to absorb like her insides, and she phased into it and became part of it. So she went inside, like her whole thing. That's why the suit was the only thing left.
Okay.
Like, she went inside of it and pretty much possessed it.
See, I think that's what threw me off since it was just the suit that was left.
And
Got so confused on that.
just watching the werewolf turn into her.
Yeah.
Like it's got this weird beak face.
Yeah, it's got a part kitty, part
She's like,
werewolf.
oh, I'm ugly.
I'm ugly.
And then she's just ripping herself out at the top of it.
That was my favorite scene where she's like,
"Get me out."
"Get me out of here!" And she's pushing through.
There's so much like blatant TNA in these
Yeah.
early ones, and it's like, okay, so Rachel and Kitty go shopping.
Yep.
And Rachel has
Yeah.
to buy like clothes that Kitty would wear,
Conservative, and
and then
Rachel turns the tables on her.
there's like, ooh la la, look at that, right? There's that dude that's in the like, oh, look at her,
Yep.
you know.
The
Yeah.
part I found most amusing, though, is that they didn't know what to do with the werewolves, so they put them in a zoo. Because
In a
that
zoo.
seems
That's
like
awesome.
a logical place to put a creature that can do what they do.
That is so Fantastic Four. Like when they met the Skrulls, like in the first, like I think it's like Fantastic Four number 3 or 2, that they hypnotize the Skrulls into thinking that they're cows, so they just live the rest of their life as cows.
You're kidding, right?
No.
No.
This is a real...
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of the first 5 issues of like Fantastic Four that the Skrulls invade.
My favorite scene is right underneath the scene in the zoo with Nightcrawler's pimp suit.
that is pretty quality.
His big old glasses and his hat.
Yep.
You know?
And they hint that these guys are coming back because only 4 of them are in the zoo.
Yep.
And
Yep.
there was 6 originally, and the sword is drawn. So what happened to the other 2?
And you get to see Megan wolf out,
Yeah.
which was awesome.
Yep.
You get to see like actually Megan actually doing something and not just
Kind of being
being the
Disney.
girlfriend.
Hanging on Brian Braddock.
Yeah. All right. Now, issue 3, Captain Britain versus the Juggernaut.
I'm the Juggernaut. We can do this the easy way or the hard way.
It is funny though that Captain Britain does try to engage him in a conversation
Before they fight.
like, oh, I'm just going to punch you in the face, and then I'm going to talk to you about it.
I'm
like-
Captain Britain.
Like he's just like so polite. Like he's
Right.
just going to talk to you before he tries
And
to kick your
Juggernaut's
ass.
like, I figured, pleased to meet you.
This may have been the last time that a character showed up on a cover that was actually in the comic book.
For this, probably.
Fighting more.
And it's cool, like you get to see Kitty like use her powers in different ways. Like
Yeah.
when she goes into the car and she phases the whole car,
Or
and,
Yep.
shoots them out the.
and they wouldn't have just fallen. They're like doing like 80.
Yeah,
They wouldn't have just
they
fallen
would've,
down.
like, they would have flown through the air.
And then you get to see Megan fight Juggernaut. Well, tries to.
She
Like, she
turns
just-
all huge.
To
Damn, that's a big
Turned into
bitch.
China.
Juggernaut size and power. Like, how does she get the power, right?
Yeah.
So she gets the size, but where's she absorbing the power from? Megan's abilities are so
One of my
random.
One of my
Yeah.
favorite parts of the fight with Juggernaut is
Oh.
when she goes,
When-
"Hi, I'm Phoenix. Guess what I can do? Guess what I do?" And he's like, "Oh no."
Yeah, she just messes him up. Like, that's like one of the best.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of this whole issue was when she's like, "Hi, I'm Phoenix."
Because Jean Grey wouldn't have done that.
No.
Jean Grey would have done it from far away, and she wouldn't have even engaged him like that. Like,
No.
Rachel's just like in your face. Like,
She's
I'm
like,
going to
I'm gonna
mess you up.
brutalize you.
Yep. And then, like, after they defeat Juggernaut, like, you just see Megan making out with Captain Britain on the side. Like, they're all like,
Yeah.
all right.
Are you all right? Always in your arms, baby. And then we get the Nazi chick.
Saturn, which is funny because they have to like show like the top of her thigh with the tattoo, so you know that she's the evil one later on.
Yeah. And then they're moving into the lighthouse. And oh my gosh!
Okay,
Captain Britain destroys her software that her and Doug wrote.
okay. Software. These are
Discs.
discs,
Yes.
right? This
Yes.
isn't hardware.
No.
I think whoever wrote like when Chris Claremont wrote this, he forgot the difference between software and hardware.
Probably.
Because dropping a box of like at this time floppy disks wouldn't destroy them,
And it wouldn't do anything.
Most likely not. No, right.
or use his super strength to pick up the box.
Because it would have been like a pound,
Right.
2 pounds
It,
probably.
it would be in a little Rolodex
Little-
thing
Yeah.
that we all used to have for all your King's Quest discs.
Loved King's Quest.
I would probably kick Megan out immediately if somebody said, "You know what? Go ahead and move into my house, and we'll talk about with the owner later."
Right.
Yeah.
And what's funny, they keep asking, like, okay, so the lighthouse has an infinite amount of space in it, yet they only have one bathroom.
Yeah.
It's like, did you guys forget that the lighthouse has a TARDIS ability?
Well, at this point, Nightcrawler was the only one really aware of it, right? And probably Brian.
Right.
So
I like how they address Brian's drinking problem. And Rachel's like, "Yeah, I threw it. What about it?"
She threw like 4 or 5 crates
Yeah.
away of
She's
his
like, yeah.
whiskey.
"Yeah, I got rid of it. What are you going to do about it? You think you tough? I'm an Omega."
Yeah, they keep bringing up like he's still a boy, like he needs to become a man. Like they keep bringing up that Britain's just a little boy.
Yeah.
It's like it's funny because there's this dude that Omega level mutant that he's an alcoholic and he's got problems. He has infidelity problems
And he likes
and
a
he's
bit of
surrounded
a
by
drop.
hot women like nonstop.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm surprised he didn't bang everybody in Excalibur too.
he was the Fabio of Excalibur.
Yep. And then you get that weird Kitty Pryde in the basement.
I didn't understand that. I was like, "What's going on here?" I'm confused.
She found that TARDIS door.
You'll find it'll
Make sense later
Yeah.
when I read more.
Yep.
All right.
And then Cap goes on a date with Courtney Ross, which isn't really a date. They're friends, but seems like more than a date. And then there's an awesome advertisement for Inferno, which made me really want to read it.
Inferno was pretty good
Yeah,
compared to what they made later on.
yeah. Because like Madeline Pryor, if you don't know Madeline Pryor, then that made no sense, right? Because
Yeah.
when I was reading it, I didn't read X-Men that much, so I knew that Jean Grey died, but then there was another redhead that looked exactly like Jean.
She was a clone of Jean.
But I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
thought Jean
that's-
came back.
Yeah.
And then I was like, why is Jean wearing this black outfit, calling herself Madeline?
Yeah.
So it made no sense.
So I read it after.
Because in that time, there was no internet and there was no magazines telling you what.
I think I read that like 3 or 4 years ago for the first time all the way through.
Yeah.
So it made more sense because I knew who everybody was.
And then the team gets back together and they form the team again.
Do the little all hands in, guys. Now we're gonna discuss
Fantastic issue number 4.
Crazy Gang.
The cover's great. Like,
Yeah, I like the cover.
you mean with huge, muscular, heroic men and beautifully erotic females engaging in gratuitous violence against sinister criminal superbrains? like there is so much TNA in this issue. Like, they just announce it on the cover.
Well, I think it was an homage to Carol Burnett at the end of her show. They
Yep.
always
How
had
she would always mop up at
Yep.
the end. Yep. Wow, we're old.
Yeah.
I watched it in reruns.
Did you? I watched it originally.
I don't know.
At least we got a nice looking original Captain Britain right there on the first page of 4 there. What he should look like.
I actually like that costume better than the one he's in throughout this whole thing.
Notice they covered the lion because they didn't want to sell any bread.
Yeah, I like that costume way better.
In the Captain Britain magazine, they gave away a mask of it, and it looks like that, but it was paper. And they also gave away a boomerang. It's like Captain Britain boomerang. You guys are
What?
just
Now you're getting DC and Marvel crossed over.
Trying to be Batman now, and you are worried about selling bread.
So this issue is mainly about Courtney getting attacked by the Crazy Gang. Crazy Gang is employed by Saturnine.
Yeah?
No,
Or is it Arcade?
no, they're employed by Arcade.
Yeah, they're by
Yeah,
Arcade.
it's
Right, but they were
another
originally.
one of my favorites.
Can't remember who they originally worked for. Oh well, not a big deal. So we find out that Courtney Ross is kind of like a badass. Like she takes down the Crazy Gang by herself.
Yep. She's like, I'm going to kick your ass right now. I don't need my boyfriend.
And especially like when Tweedledope comes along, he's got the wheelchair and he's got the knives and he's got the whole bunch of rats just pulling him. And she figures out the best way of doing it is just go through him. Not around him, just go kick him in the face.
Right over him, stomp on his head.
But like all great like Arcade stories, he finds some way of kidnapping her. Like he does. Not like his goons. Like
Slaymaster?
Arcade?
No.
Oh,
For the gang?
Yeah.
It was the Slaymaster?
Yeah, that makes sense because they're in there. Yeah, Slaymaster. He's right there.
And then you get the scene where they go shopping.
Yep,
And Rachel turns Kitty into a tart.
that's this one. Yep. And then, yeah, the...
Then Megan in a bikini.
Yep.
Like, hey, how's it going, Megan?
Just Nightcrawler's just hitting on her through the entire thing.
Yep. And then he's like, what am I doing? I'm a priest. Well, not yet.
No, he doesn't care. He's throwing her around. He tickles her for at least 2 panels with his tail, which is kind of phallic, right?
Kinda, yeah. You're a beast.
Right. The feels this gave me when I was 15.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, yeah, okay, just the pose. And, yeah, okay, we're going to get off of that. All right.
And on to the next page.
And on the next. So they get a call from Courtney, right? Is it a call or is it some... no.
Looks like some kind of note or something.
Kitty figures it out with the
I think
clue or
Arcadia
whatever.
has kidnapped our banker, your lady friend. Courtney
That's right,
Ross.
because the
money had
on the money had the
Queen
pictures
of-
of the...
Queen of Hearts.
Right. Then Brian gets so pissed off he breaks all the buttons off of his shirt. They can never figure out how big he is. Like, he switches size, like, constantly. His head is ginormous, but when he puts the helmet on, it's smaller.
Yeah.
It's like he's got a TARDIS in his head.
He looks very bulky with the white shirt on.
Right.
And he actually looks smaller with the uniform.
Yep. So they figure that out, and they figure out, like, the crimes are going to happen by the money. Like, where it's at, what's going to happen to her, stuff like that. And then you get another fantastic drawing of Courtney Ross in a lingerie. All right.
It was definitely
See,
made
I was
for
thinking
horny,
the White Rabbit
horny,
Right.
from
horny
Right.
teenage boys. Is a perfect
It
issue.
was. And then they go all, what is it? Monty Python with how they kill off the comedian on the bottom.
Gigantic Foot
Yep.
Smash.
And then she's got to tell jokes to stay alive.
Stay alive, yeah.
Which is pretty funny because she's like the Ice Queen. And she's going to, she's going to die.
Well, they actually made reference to it a little bit later where
And then
who knew she was funny? She's the Ice Queen.
Right.
You know,
I didn't understand why we went to Callisto and Moira McTaggart. It was just like, meanwhile, well, you didn't introduce these 2 characters throughout the whole thing.
It's because
Claremont.
Gateway abducts them.
Okay.
And they show up later.
Okay.
But yeah, he's working his slow burn. And like, I can't believe Courtney's funny. And the Crazy Gang shows up and they take over the bodies of everybody else. And then
The Crazy Gang took over our bodies.
Yeah, body flop or switch there.
Captain Britain's
Tweedledope.
Tweedledope.
And Rachel becomes the executioner.
Only one not caught, Shadowcat. So it's up to her to save the day again.
So in issue 5,
Courtney?
Courtney goes from the White Rabbit to Alice.
Yep.
Yep.
Somehow he has a machine that changes her clothes, which is really weird. With 2 hooks. That's all it has. 2 hooks,
And it just puts it on her.
she falls into it. They fight each other, right?
So there's a question for you. They switch bodies and they hang around.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, let's see what is going to happen. Why?
I don't know.
Yeah, no idea.
Because supposedly they keep their intelligence and gain the intelligence of the people they swapped into.
Mm-hmm.
Apologies, Herr Capitan.
I just think it's funny that Captain Britain is biting Tweedledum Dope's butt
Yeah. That's
and lifting him off the ground. Yeah, and then Rachel comes along and grabs Arcade and throws him in the murder world and leaves Lockheed to guard the henchman.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who gets seduced by her? She seduces the dragon into letting them go.
What was it? Hey, Lockheed.
Yeah.
Poor Lockheed. He likes the ladies. That's why he's hanging around with Kitty Pryde.
Apparently that costume changer thing works for Arcadia too, because all of a sudden he's got
Right.
like this Rambo gladiator thing going
Spartan
on.
helmet with Uzis. Yeah.
He's got a cigar, just like every 80s action hero back in the day.
Then we get into a fencing match with Nightcrawler's new body and his old body, the Jester. Yeah.
Yep.
As Courtney's going through the chainsaw or the sawmill, typical, gonna get cut by the saw.
Help me, damsel in distress! After she kicked the crap out of everybody the previous issue.
I was waiting for Mighty Mouse to fly in and save her.
So it's Arcade that saves her, which is weird. Right? So
I
he
didn't
cuts her
catch that,
ropes
yeah,
and saves her.
Yeah.
but he's the one that put her into the. Maybe he was thinking she's going to be able to help him with this Shadowcat. Maybe
Right. I don't know. That part I never got that. Why he would save her. He put her in that danger. He put her in there for a reason, to kill her.
Yeah.
You know, that would have been a great question to ask Chris Claremont. If only somebody had met him recently to ask that question.
Hey,
I don't think we met him, did we?
hey, back 30 years ago,
30 years ago.
there's this
you-
panel right here.
Right here in this Excalibur. Can you explain it?
It would be just like that episode of Saturday Night Live with Shatner on it. You effing nerds, get a life. That's what it would be.
You'd have to ask after you got your autograph.
Yep.
Hate him.
That part I never got that. They fight the crazy gang. They get their bodies back. Well, actually, okay. So they change Murder World's programming to be more pliable to what they want. They go to a world full of pies and a rock band.
Yep.
Is the rock band supposed to be a band from that time frame that I'm not remembering?
Huh.
Okay.
No, I thought it was going to be like Leela Cheney, which
Yeah,
was
that's who I thought it was too.
another X-Men rock star, right?
Okay.
Who can teleport you interdimensionally?
But that's not her.
Nope.
But
It
it's just a
isn't.
bunch of pies that are sentient that are running around getting smashed and going, ew, the horror.
I can't take this anymore. It's a nightmare. The death, the mutilation.
And then, yeah, they put the body switchers back on him. Megan kicks the crap out of some dude. What? He's not the Joker. He's not the Fool. What is he? But every like issue, you get a little bit more of who Megan is,
Yeah.
which is nice.
Yeah.
Because you start out and you're like, who the hell is this chick? And of course, Rachel has to get saved again by Kitty Pryde. Again, with phasing powers, which, okay, got it. Arcade goes to prison, which never keeps.
Which he admits.
Yeah. I'll be out in a couple days. This won't stick. How does it not stick?
He's the Donald Trump of Marvel Comics.
How did you not stick? He has a giant murder castle. Like H.H. Holmes, but on like a
Fake
grand
news.
scale.
Fake news.
Right.
Well,
So-
he does have a lot of henchmen. He can just lay it on the henchmen.
Right.
I wasn't involved.
I don't know who he was. He used to run and get me coffee.
Yep. Then you get Courtney Ross, which they murder on like one page, and she's gone. That's the end of her. Completely gone.
That's it from her?
That's it.
She's
She's
doesn't
gone.
show
She
up.
doesn't show up
ever.
again.
Nope.
So she's like the one true death. Uncle Ben and her are the one true.
If I remember
true
right,
deaths.
they say they bring her back, but I'm not quite sure it's really her because she's gone. Right? Saturnine takes her place and goes on a date with Captain Britain, and then more than a date. And you can tell by it's her because of the thing on her
The
leg.
tattoo.
Yep.
You did miss the important part. Captain Britain did turn down a drink.
Did I?
What? I thought there was no drink that
Oh,
he wouldn't turn
He
down.
did.
He did. Nightcrawler finally gives him a drink, and he's like, yeah, no thanks. So,
Wow. Must just not be his brand.
This is not my brand of whiskey.
So yeah, so that's Excalibur 1 through 5.
So we're going to talk about Claremont?
Yeah.
So this past weekend was Planet Comic Con down in Kansas City. Nick and the family and our whole family went down for the day. And the only guy that I was really wanting to meet and get an autograph from was Chris Claremont. Being a huge X-Men fan, he's the one who, created the stories of all these iconic characters. And we're standing in line, and Nick goes, "You better make sure he wrote that book." Because I brought down the first ever comic book I ever bought was X-Men 276. And I look in there and it says Jim Lee and Chris Claremont. So I'm like, okay,
But who really wrote it?
don't know. Probably Jim Lee. So we get up there, and I had bought a hardback cover of Days of Futures Past. And I was like, well, Nick was like, well, why don't you get them both autographed? I'm like, all right. So I give him the book, and he goes, first thing he does, I said, hi, how you doing? He's like, good, you? And he goes, opens the book and goes, yep, I did it. And then he signed it. I was like, okay. The stories that Nick had told me, though, he was a dick.
I will say, I did meet him at an off time for him.
Yeah.
Like, he just came off a panel. He was talking to somebody, and I walked up with an issue of Excalibur for him to sign, and I interrupted the conversation. I was like, I know you're busy, but can you sign this for me?
Yeah.
And he just took out his Sharpie and marked all over my book.
He did have a smile on his face when you opened up your poster. He was like,
He thought there was, like, not just signatures on there. He thought there was, like, prose, like somebody was writing stuff on that.
yeah.
He was, like, thinking I was going to make him write something on it.
Yeah.
okay, explain the poster, because you're talking about this poster and what.
All
Explain what you're trying to do with it.
So I have from the old Marvel Universe role-playing game, the X-Men supplement had a family tree of the X-Men. So it started with the original 5, like Beast, Iceman, Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Angel. And it went from every incarnation of the teams from then on, down to, I think, New Mutants and X-Force. I think X-Force is on there.
I
But,
think so too.
So it went through all that, and I'm having artists and writers sign on their favorite X-Man. Because we all had favorite X-Men. Even if you work for DC, you probably have a favorite X-Man.
Right.
So I even have the guy who drew the poster sign it. And I didn't even give him, like, the best spot. Like, I waited, and I was talking to Claremont, and I was like, you're, like, the greatest influence in X-Men comics in history over everybody. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, everybody. And I was like, can you sign this giant spot right here? And he put his Sharpie away, and he put out the green pen, which was awesome. Or not the green one, but the gold one. And he signed it really delicately, like really clear. I was like, oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes
Well,
you can be okay.
You signed my poster and you were okay right there.
You're not the biggest jerk. You're not, should I say his name?
Go ahead.
Dan Jurgens.
Really? What's the Jurgen story?
Okay, so I was working at the comic shop, right? And Dan Jurgens was a regular. And I was warned, don't talk to Dan Jurgens about comic books.
In a comic book store.
In a comic book store, right?
Makes sense.
He's here to buy his sports cards. He does not want to talk about comics.
Makes sense.
Okay, well, so he's collecting something else.
Right.
Okay.
And offhandedly, I said, well, I'm really looking forward to your G.I. Joe. Right? That's all I said. And he looked at me and was like, that's a great compliment coming from somebody of your stature.
Ooh. Of your... Whoa.
Like, oh, I'm just a lowly guy that sells your comic books. It's okay. We all have jerks that we meet.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of don't like meeting comic book people anymore.
Yeah.
It was very rare meeting guys like Pat Gleason.
Chris Claremont was my first autograph from a comic book person, so...
Trying to think.
It's probably going to be my last. I don't know if there's anybody else. Unless I can get Jim Lee to sign that comic book, too.
I think the favorite person I've ever met was Matt Kent. Like, Matt Kent and Pat Gleason.
Pat Gleason's really nice.
So just to recap, next week we'll be doing Martian Manhunter.
Number 24.
Number 24. Hawkman.
Special.
And then
Marvel Team Up number 1.
Marvel Team Up number 1 with Spider-Man and Ms. Marvel.
And then something else. We just haven't decided yet.
Yeah, we haven't decided, so... I guess...
Are we doing the grind your gears on this one, too?
You want to?
Started it last time.
Sure.
What do you...
Creators. I mean, he's already listed off Jurgens.
Well, Claremont's the only one I've met, so... I don't really have one. Because he was decent and talked to my daughter.
All right, somebody's work you don't care for.
I'll let Nick go.
I already did.
Oh, you did? All right, I'll let you go.
You sure you don't want to go on anybody else's?
Oh, Peter Mayhew.
I'll say Todd McFarlane.
Really? Why so?
It's just his ego.
Okay.
And thinking he's the shit, even though Jim Lee was 1,000 times better than he was. Jim Lee's my favorite author, or my favorite artist.
Okay.
So
I can see that.
If Jim Lee does anything, I will, like when he did Batman, I had to get Batman. And,
sure.
You know, any book he touches, I have to. But yeah, I didn't really like his drawing style.
Okay.
So, I know that's probably not a popular one, but
I got one that's worse than that.
What's that?
John Romita Jr.
Yeah.
Oh.
Original John Romita, or after a while, like later on, John Romita Jr.?
I can't tell a difference. Every single character looks identical to each other. You don't know if it's a guy, you don't know if it's a girl. You don't know. Every superhero looks the exact same. There's so many books I passed up just because he drew the book.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan.
That whole series of Daredevil that he did, yeah, I won't even buy it. I'm like, I can't even look at it. Like,
I want to read it so bad, but he did the art in it, and I know it's going to bother me the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even with his Spider-Man, what else did he... Superman stuff he did recently.
Yep.
Yeah, everything he's ever done, I'm just like, no.
Wow.
I have one book that he did the cover on. It was a Green Lantern book.
Okay. Well, Sophie wants strawberries, so I guess this is a perfect time to end it. Unless you were done.
I'm
talking.
good.
All right. Well, this has been the Round Robin Comic Book Podcast. This is Kirk.
This is Ryan.
Nick.
Have a good night, guys.
Sophie.
Bye.